Well, happy Mother's Day. It is a great day. We feel the love of mother's love, whether our mother is with us in this earth plane or not. And so we just begin by acknowledging that soft, powerful love. Happy Mother's Day. There was a little girl who was speaking to her mother, and her mother was telling her what it was like when she was a child. She said, I used to skate on a pond in the wintertime, and in the summer, I would swing from a tire that was tied to a big tree branch. We'd ride the pony that we had, and sometimes we'd go out into the woods and pick wild raspberries. The little girl just sat there with her mouth wide open, and she said, I sure wish I'd gotten to know you sooner. Well, Mother's Day has been around for a while now, over 100 years. I think this is 109th Mother's Day this year. And it's due in part to two different women. One is Julia Ward Howe. She wanted to honor her mother and came up with this idea of honoring her mother on June 2nd, a day that was dedicated to peace. She's the one, by the way, who wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic. So Mother's Day was Mother's Peace Day. And then there's another woman named Anna Jarvis, who later on wanted to honor her mother and wanted to make this a national holiday. And she finally got this holiday going, signed into law by Woodrow Wilson in 1914. So they were both really responsible for getting Mother's Day going as we know it today. A man named E.M. Forster once said, I am sure that if the mothers of various nations could meet, there would be no more war. We were told in the Bible, the fourth commandment says, honor your father and your mother. Well, how do you suppose you would go about honoring your mother? Well, you would probably do so by sharing the best qualities you learned from your mother or your mother figure. See, it's about the words we use about ourselves or to ourselves, the words we use to or about others. When we're really aware of that and we're honoring others and honoring ourselves, we're also honoring our mothers. We want to live up to her highest expectations. And we do the best we can. Now, as a young father, my wife had split and I was raising my son by myself from when he was about 7 or so on. It was kind of a different experience, obviously. It was, I had to kind of come up with mothering qualities as well as fathering qualities. And I didn't do all that well sometimes, and other times I did okay. But then I got married many years later, and my wife, who you may have met, Reverend Kathy, she became that surrogate mother for my son. And it was with her support and her help and her love that we were able to raise my son, hold him accountable in the ways he needed to be held accountable, using some tough love, but also some gentle, accepting love. And he turned out fantastically. What are the qualities of a mother, or a mother figure for that matter? Well, it's someone who would accept you for who you are while encouraging you to be all you could be. She's the person, or he, if you have a mother figure who was a father, she's the person who helped you believe in yourself as much as she believed in you. Someone you could talk to in good times and in tough times. Somebody who could get mad at you, but couldn't stay mad at you because they love you too much. Our job, among other things, is to honor our mothers by seeing the best in ourselves and the best in others. To use that nurturing quality. Of course, some of us have it more than others. I read about a woman who, through various circumstances, ended up needing to raise her young nephew. And she went to her minister and said, I am just beyond myself. I don't know how to do this. I've always been strict. I've always been stern. I've never been a particularly caring or loving person. I can't possibly consider how to raise a child. Well, the minister said, what you need to do is to be able to express God's love. See, the love of God will equip you, he said, to love this child. If you allow yourself the privilege of having this love come through, it will come through you. Somehow it did. She raised this nephew to a fine young man, and her life was changed forever. See, it's really all God's love. We experience that love through others, through mothering qualities, whether it was your mother, your stepmother, your adopted mother, your grandmother, or it could be a male figure who was giving to you these nurturing, loving, caring qualities. It's all God's love. There was a man who was with his daughter on a getaway cruise after his wife, her mother, had died. They were on the ship looking out at the water, and the little girl said, Daddy, does God love us as much as Mommy did? And he thought for a couple of minutes. Then he looked out across the sea and he said, God's love reaches farther than you can see here, all the way out. And over on the other side, God's love reaches farther than you can see there. And God's love is higher than the sky and deeper than the deepest ocean. And the little girl said, oh, just think, Daddy, we're right here in the middle of it all. It is God's love. And we are right in the middle of it all. There's a woman named Maureen Hawkins, and she said, before you were conceived, I wanted you. Before you were born, I loved you. Before you were here an hour, I would die for you. This is the miracle of love. There's a man named John Udecking, and he wrote long time ago. He said, in 1927, he said, I had a nickel to spend for Mother's Day. So I went to the grocery store and I looked all over for something to get my mother. It was kind of a general store, but mainly had groceries. I went to the store owner, said, I want to buy the biggest thing I can buy for a nickel. He sold me a head of cabbage. When I gave it to my mother, she said it was the nicest Mother's Day present she had ever received. Pablo Picasso once said, my mother told me, if you become a soldier, you'll be a general. If you become a monk, you'll end up as the Pope. Instead, I became a painter and wound up as Picasso, he said. Then there's a story about Wilma Rudolph. Now, she won 3 gold medals at the 1960 Olympics and was named the fastest woman in the world. Wilma Rudolph wore metal braces on her legs till she was at least 9 years old. Once she said, my doctors told me I would never walk again. my mother told me I would. I believe my mother. Well, are there training courses for mothers? Not really. I mean, there's been the Dr. Spock books and other things like that. But most mothers learn from their own mother experience. It's passed down generation to generation. Sometimes it skips, sometimes it isn't there the way it needs to be. In cases like that, maybe somebody will find the mother figure, a mother substitute of some sort. For me, it was my grandmother. I had a grandmother, my grandmother, Gracie, Grandma Grace. And she took a liking to me. I was special to her. And that was good because I didn't have anybody else who was really looking out after me. My own mother was too busy taking care of my sister, who was always so sick. So I was on my own. But when I wasn't on my own, I would hear from her. And for years and years on my birthday, I'd get something in the mail. It'd just be something small, some little knickknacks of some sort. But there'd always be one thing in there, a $2 bill, fresh, clean, new $2 bill. I still have some of them. It made me feel really special when there wasn't really anybody else to do that. My dad was off as a traveling salesman, gone most of the time, and my mom was taking care of my sister. But there was somebody there for me, just like there's somebody there for all of us if we look and if we're open. See, this mother or mother's substitute is the one who is nurturing, who is intuitive, who is supportive, who is empowering and accepting. We all have those qualities. Jesus loved people regardless of their station in life. You remember that. He'd have dinner with the tax collector. He saw the best. He acknowledged their faith. People who were the poorest of the poor, he loved. He helped. He helped them see more about themselves. He acknowledged their faith and helped make them well. He acknowledged that their faith itself made them well. It wasn't all about Jesus. It was about Jesus knowing the highest and best for them, helping them to believe. And he would say it, your faith has made you well. He demonstrated compassion. He helped people know God more and know God's love for them more. He was a teacher. He was a way shower. He would say, go and sin no more, which means don't keep making the same mistakes. In your life and in my life, we have had some bumps along the way. We have made some mistakes. I don't call them sins. I used to. The way I was raised, everything was a sin. And I got beyond that and realized that it was just seeing things differently, learning from my mistakes, and not doing it over and over again. In Unity, sometimes we talk about sin as self-inflicted nonsense, S-I-N. Living in sin means we continue to do the same self-inflicted nonsense, make the same mistakes over and over again. But if we think back about the power of love, the power of mother's love, seeing the best in us, nurturing us, scolding us when we needed scolding, but seeing us as the true loving beings that we are, we could feel that love. We were uplifted by that love. We were made to feel like we had value. And that's what God's love does through others to us and through us to others. How are you able to demonstrate God's mothering love today? Who is it that needs to have that phone call? Who is it that you can sit down with and truly listen to them without coming up with a response, without needing to correct somebody? How are you going to do that today? Because that is one of the greatest ways to honor your own mother or your own mother figure. Somebody is looking for that love today through you. It could be somebody next to you. It could be somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time. When you go into some prayer and meditation, open up to ask God, say, what is it I need to do today? Who is it I can reach out to today? How can I show a little bit more patience today to that person who brought 14 items into the 10 or less in the grocery store? How can I show more patience to that person that didn't treat me exactly as I thought they should? My job is not to teach them by correcting them. My job is to teach them by demonstrating love, compassion, understanding, acceptance, patience, all of these wonderful nurturing things that we were taught. We don't know how many lives we can change through our kind words, through our affirmative actions. We don't know how many lives we can change just by being true to ourselves and feeling that presence and peace of God. You know, when you walk into a room and it's all frantic, you feel that frantic energy. And when you walk into a room, it's all caring and loving. Eye contact, smiles, you're put at ease. You feel that love. That love travels through us to make a difference in somebody's life. So you may be a mother figure to somebody else today. Open your nurturing, supporting, accepting side to whoever it is. Know that it doesn't even need to be somebody who is in this earth plane now. You can still be thinking about somebody, whether they are with us or not, whether they're in your presence or not, whether they're around the world or next door or in the next room. Think of them. Surround them with light. Surround them with love. See the best in them, because when you do, that light, that love reflects back to you. You are valued and you are valuable. So today, show your love. It's Mother's Day, and it's God's love through you. And you are, at this moment, now and always, right here in the middle of it all. Happy Mother's Day. God bless you.